when I have a mission to try to create a safe and healthy, thriving city, to be that effective mayor, to do that, I won't stop until it gets there. Mm-hmm. That the city is going to be safe and healthy and thriving.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Antonio the Miles, and yes, this is the Empire Podcast. And today we have a great special guest. Yes, businesswoman, mother, wife, and guess what? Candidate for mayor of San Bernardino, Mrs. Helen Tran. Welcome to the podcast, Helen.
Thank you so much.
So how are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. It's kind of a gloomy weather today, but, it's great to see you, great to be here. Thank you for allowing me into your home.
Yes, thank you. A gloomy day, but we will always bring the sunshine.
Yeah, we're going to bring the sunshine today.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
Let the sun out. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? That's what we're going to do. So for the people who don't know who Helen Tran is, can you please tell us who you are?
Who is this Helen Tran?
Yes.
Well, I am a first-generation born daughter of refugee immigrants from Vietnam, and I would be remiss if I did not share who my parents are, because without them I would not be here today speaking to you and to everyone here who's listening. My parents left their own mother country, Vietnam, due to the war-torn that fall of Saigon in 1975, April 30th. And it took several attempts for them to leave their country just because they knew they could not provide a life that they would like for their children to be thriving. And I think what really did it was when my father witnessed the execution of my mother's older sister. And right before that execution, it was signaled that he needs to leave with my mom. Okay. So that began the journey by foot. It was either boat or foot, and they chose foot, by foot journey from South Vietnam through Cambodia to Thailand camp NW9. My mother was pregnant with my sister. She is alive and well, living in Maui with her husband, two boys.
Oh, she's living that good life.
Yes. I told her don't leave because I like to escape.
That part, right? Need a vacation somewhere.
Yes. And what's very, very unique about their journey leaving their countries, when they decide to leave, they took two different paths. My mom went down one path, pregnant with my sister, and my father took a different path with another group. And their mindset was that they don't want to get caught leaving. Mm-hmm. And my mom, thankfully, she made it safely to the Thailand camp, but my dad, on the other hand, did not. He ended up being in prison in a Khmer Rouge camp, and really was supposed to die. And he was digging his own grave site, and was blindfolded, supposed to be executed. Then the Red Cross team came into that camp and saved everyone in that camp. Yeah.
So this story starts even before you.
Before me. I wasn't even there yet. I wasn't even in the womb of my mother's.
Got you.
But I shared this because they reunited at the Thailand camp after 1 month.
Okay.
And my mom was encouraged to leave that camp with my sister by other folks saying that your husband's dead. Your husband's dead. She said, no, I'm waiting for my husband.
I love it.
Finally, they got sponsored to the U.S. It was either San Diego or Tennessee. San Diego, woo, that's where I was born. 1981, 1982 is when I was born, San Diego. Okay. We were in the El Cajon area of San Diego, with very poor part, and a family friend encouraged us to leave and began our life in 1988 in San Bernardino. That began our life in San Bernardino.
A much different San Bernardino.
Yes. So I was about 6 years old. I did not speak English. Attended Arrowhead Elementary School, where they had a Vietnamese translator. So we were bused from the home near St. Bernardine, near Wilson Elementary School, 2784 Sepulveda. I remember that because we didn't have phone or anything. You have to remember the address, the phone numbers, everything. And I always remembered, growing up, my parents said, always give back and help others. And that was very, very important as growing up. And we grew up poor, and we were okay because we had each other, love, and
the family.
And that was what kept us going. And to, navigate the obstacles that my parents faced, I have no idea how they did it themselves, and without speaking much English and having 4 children. I'm just so impressed.
Yeah, we have to give credit for people who are like first generations that come here. Like it shows like their perseverance, their hard work, and like people nowadays, they're just like, oh, I got a splinter, I'm gonna give up.
No,
I
exactly.
got a splinter, I'm gonna give up. But like, there's like first people generations who are just like, there is no giving up. Like giving up's not an option. And so kudos to your family and people like them who have persevered.
Thank you. And that's what my parents taught me and my siblings, to never give up. Always look at the challenges or the ugly or the obstacles as learning. And that's what my dad always reminded me, is that those who make it difficult for you are really your masters. They're teaching you something.
Okay.
And so I look at it that way, and I'm like, okay, Dad, all right. It's frustrating. It's but I'm trying to look at it in that angle, so that way I say, okay, you're making it very difficult for me, so let me try to learn from this and what not to do and how to be an effective or better leader or better team member or colleague or friend, what have you. And I always had that positive mindset that, you know what, you're probably going through something and you're just trying to figure things out yourself.
Gotcha.
So don't judge them, right? And but
Very
again,
good lesson.
Absolutely. And I think that's probably one of the reasons why I got through my struggles and just being able to survive in the city of San Bernardino for 14 years. But let me just backtrack a little bit. So growing up, being taught to always give back, help others. So in high school, I was very involved in community service, in Key Club, peer leadership, and meeting folks who always love to give back. I remember going to convalescent homes and singing Christmas carols.
Wow.
And politics, my first exposure was 1999 on a congressional campaign. That's where I met my mentors. And I have to say, if I did not meet them, I'd probably join a gang, because that was where I was really going down the path in.
Okay, gangs in San Bernardino?
Yeah, they're in San Bernardino.
Okay.
There is an Asian gang, and really, when you don't have the resources or know that there's much more than just people, you feel that that's the community and safety and security.
100%.
And so you don't know that there's more out there, right?
Gotcha.
And so, but when I met my mentors on that campaign that we volunteered as a Key Clubber, they saw something in me, and I became a canvasser, and I paid canvasser, which was great. It's more money for my parents, my family, because they really work hard to make ends meet. And
you said canvasser?
Canvasser.
Can you explain to people who may not know what that is?
A canvasser is someone who is really getting out to the community and advocating for a candidate who's running for office, or advocating on an issue that really needs to be raised awareness in the community. Hey, we got to vote no on this issue or yes on this issue because it's going to benefit or not benefit the community, or vote for this candidate because this candidate is the best person who's going to really fight for the community. So that is a canvasser for a campaign. And that's how I got my understanding of civic engagement. How you really need to really push information out to the community as far as what's going on and who's going to be in the leadership role, like an elected leader, and who's going to make policies that impacts all of us. So,
and it's basically like, I guess canvasser would kind of go back to like old school grassroots type of door-to-door situations.
And that's what my mentor, Sue Burnside, did. She is a grassroots field program that is she's very well known nationally. And I ended up following her, and she took me under her wings, and she also pushed me to go to college. Helen, you need to apply for go to college. I'm thinking, okay, well, I guess. And so that's...
So prior, you never thought about college?
It was ingrained by parents, but then again, remember, I was going down the path of hanging out with people who were like, "Hey, no,
Okay.
let's go have fun," or "Let's,
Let's
we
go
all we
party.
need. This all we need is each other, right?"
Okay.
Versus like, there's so much more. Go to college, see the world, and that's what my mentors did in helping me really see things, and so I ended up working for her throughout so many campaigns up and down the state, mainly Southern California, but also Northern California. Throughout my college years, I ended up going to UC Santa Cruz.
Okay. Much different than San Bernardino.
Very much so. But it was a beautiful part that I thought, wow, there's something more than just San Bernardino.
Mm-hmm. That's what everybody needs. There's something
People
more
need
than
to
just
see
your
what they
hometown.
exactly. And then she, Sue also pushed me to study abroad. And she's
Ooh.
Italian. Her background's Italian. And so I actually wanted to go back to my mother country, Vietnam, but my parents were very concerned. They
Got
said,
you.
like, well, we don't know if it's safe or not. So then I thought about, okay, where should I go? Then I looked at Sue Burns, like, she's like my second mama.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, let me just go to Italy. That's her background.
Okay.
So I studied Italy.
Uh-oh.
And
That's where you fall in love in Italy.
Sì, posso parlare in italiano.
Uh-huh.
So
Pizza.
pizza, mi piace.
Lasagna.
So I even had those gestures when I came back. I'm like, oh my goodness, because I lived and breathed and embraced that language and culture, and lived there for a year.
Wow. What was your favorite place to go in Italy?
Ooh, I would have to say, God, the Positano, the coastal areas.
Okay.
Beautiful, beautiful. Cinque Terre, the 5 small little cities in the coastal area of the north area.
Gotcha.
But Siena is in Tuscany
Okay.
region, 45 minutes away from Florence. That's where I lived, and it was very beautiful. It was a walled city, cobblestones, all of that.
Okay, yeah, that's how all those. You know what? Because I've been to Europe as well myself, right? And Venice too. But what I learned about Europeans is that they always find time to have coffee, to sit down and have coffee with family. It doesn't matter if they work 2 jobs or whatever. There's always time for coffee and to sit down and take a break.
Absolutely.
That's like non-existent in the States.
Life. We need to step back and look at life and embrace it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't do that because we're always holding our breath in the things that we do. When you hold your breath, you're not really embracing your own life in this life.
Yes.
And we have to do more to breathe in what we're living in.
100%.
And I think that's one of the things I've realized, as I'm being exposed to the world, being exposed to more than just San Bernardino, I've grown into someone who can see things in different angles and really embrace it, but also kind of, rumble with the issues and try and figure things out and solve it. And I think that's what I can bring, as I'm journeying this path to run for mayor.
Yes. I want to talk about being mayor, right? And so obviously running for mayor, you have to kind of study what it is to be a mayor a little bit, right? You have to kind of look into a little bit of what it is, I'm assuming, right? So what is the duty of a mayor?
A mayor for the city of San Bernardino is someone who is a spokesperson, someone who is the face of the city. On the board of the council, which is the makeup of 7 city council members, the mayor is a consensus builder.
Okay.
Someone who's going to make sure that who heads the board meetings, the council meetings, making sure that we are staying focused on the issue or the item that's being discussed or being decided upon, and make sure that we are all working towards making a decision that's best for the community.
Okay. For the city.
For the city.
Okay.
And an ally to me, an ally to each of the council members. Mind you, the city has gone through a lot. When I worked for the city since 2006, we had gone through the Great Recession in 08-09 into the dissolution of the Economic Development Agency, which was a huge economic driver for many communities up and down the state of California. Then we spiraled into 5 long, painful years of bankruptcy.
Yes.
So with that bankruptcy process, we had to do a lot of restructuring of the city's governance.
Okay.
And one of the biggest restructuring was the charter reform.
What's that?
So the city is a charter city.
Okay.
So it's not a general law city. A charter city allows voters, the residents, have more voting power
Okay, for the residents.
for
Okay.
this community.
Okay.
So you're not resorting just to the state law. You're actually, within this charter, you have the power for certain areas and how you, the city's makeup or the structure
Okay.
of the city. Okay. So prior to the charter reform, because of the bankruptcy, the city was a strong mayor form of government. What does that mean?
The mayor has most of the power in the
Yes.
decision making?
Yes.
Okay.
Hiring, firing also.
Okay.
So through the charter reform, through the bankruptcy, within the bankruptcy, there's a lot of things that need to be looked at, which makes sense because, after so often you want to look at in today's industry standards or today's makeup, things change. Communities change.
Yep.
People change.
Yep.
Structure of government change.
Yep.
So you kind of want to line that what makes most sense for San Bernardino. So 2016 went out to the voters to vote on a new charter.
Okay.
And this was the city manager council form of government,
Okay.
where the mayor is a full-time mayor, but is not a mayor that hires and fires, is really now in the power under the city manager.
Okay. Who's the city manager? What's their role?
So city manager is the head person, a position that oversees all of the departments, which creates, and there's a lot of, the human resource department, there's the finance department, there's a public works department that handles the streets, and,
Okay.
And a police department,
Gotcha.
and so
Fire
forth.
department. Okay.
So it's make sure all the departments are working,
Mm.
right? So you have department heads.
Got you.
And so in that case, the city manager has a lot of power in the sense of making sure the departments are functioning. The mayor, on the other hand, doesn't do the administrative function. It's more of being a leader to the community with the council members.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
So to me, I know some folks say that because of the new change of form of government, the mayor's powerless. I disagree.
100%.
The mayor is the face of the city.
Yeah.
The mayor's position has a huge influence. Regardless of what the specific functions are, it's still a huge influencer
100%.
for a community.
Yeah.
When other community members or other folks want to look at a city, they want to meet the mayor.
I want to talk to the mayor.
Right.
Just the title alone.
So when they wanted to, this whole talk recently about, I wouldn't say recently, about a year ago, they want to get rid of the mayor. I'm like, this is a large-sized city, a full-time mayor. Why would you want to get rid of it during a time when we're not stable yet?
Yeah. Especially the pandemic and everything.
Right. So again, I've seen nothing but crisis after crisis.
Yeah.
The Great Recession, dissolution of the Economic Development Agency, into the bankruptcy, into the December 2nd shooting, which was very traumatic
Yes.
to our police department, to our safety members, to the county employees,
To the community.
to the community overall. Then we have a North Park Elementary shooting a year later. So then, then we had the political chaos of just, recall, indictment, and all of these things. So it's like, wow, one after the other.
Mm-hmm.
To me, I have not seen the community heal from each of those crises yet.
They've been piled on.
Piled on.
Mm-hmm.
So the 2018 election, when the current incumbent got sworn in, I was sitting as a staffer at the Sturgis Center and watching the current incumbent getting sworn in, and my heart sank. Because I just felt like the city just got out of a painful bankruptcy process, and I didn't feel like we're going to move forward. So my leadership, because I went from senior secretary to the HR director into the director position 10 years later, the youngest director in the city.
Making moves.
I then realized I could not be impactful. So he got sworn in, the incumbent mayor got sworn in December 2018. January, first Saturday in January of 2019, I was holding my 3-month-old Rio. He's now 3 years old. And I was wide awake at 2 a.m. And I wrote this in my day planner. And something told me it's time to get out.
Okay.
So that began my journey to start looking for another job. Because I just knew my leadership would not be impactful. I don't think in a positive way for me to feel like I'm doing the work that's needed.
Got you.
So, looking for a job doesn't happen overnight. So I finally landed with another agency August. And then I broke my ankle.
Okay.
the following week, which
Wow.
to me, I feel
What
like
were you doing that made you break your ankle?
I was on the phone with my new boss,
Okay.
and my husband and the kids were sleeping, and I was upstairs. And then he wanted to check in and said that, hey, I just make sure you're good, your background, do you have appointments, so everything's taken care of? He said, yes, I think I want to go and get my background this morning, so let me call my boss, my current employer with San Bernardino, and let her know that I'm going to come in a little later. So I was going down the stairs. Mind you, I probably was on cloud nine, excited to.
Got you.
I'm getting
you weren't
out.
you weren't paying attention.
I was okay. So I
Got
got
you.
off my own stairs, and we've lived here for 5 years or so. And I got on my own stairs too early, and I landed completely, and you just hear this crack, like,
Oh,
ooh! I thought I wiped out both my ankles.
got you. Were you
But
screaming? You were screaming.
I
huh?
was screaming blood and murder.
Oh man.
My husband had to carry me out to the car, get me to the hospital, and then they had to just put the bones back. And I ended
What
up
hurts more when the initial break or when they put it back in?
both.
Okay.
I can't, yeah. And when I ended up getting 2 plates and 8 screws
Okay. Wow.
on my left leg.
Got
So then
you.
I was pretty much, because I was going to tell my current boss I was going to resign. But then I ended up breaking my leg. And so it was just a chaos.
Got you. So you're like a bionic woman.
Yeah. But I had to submit my resignation after I came back, fixed up. And that was and I was on leave already September. And I exited October, and I started with my new employer. I didn't even skip a beat. I was like, all right, let's go.
Just keep it moving.
Just keep moving. That's when I started the journey of, okay, well, now that I'm not a staffer, I'm not going against my own administration.
Yeah.
That's what made me start thinking about, okay, what I need to do to start running for office.
Gotcha. So people hear these different terms like mayor, governor, councilman, blah, blah, blah. So something as simple as mayor and governor, what would you say the difference is between the two and their roles?
The difference between a mayor and a governor, mayor is in the local level. You're really, you're a leader in a community that you're making direct impacts. A governor, on the other hand, is much more higher, is the highest office in the state of California.
Okay.
So you don't have direct, engagement in the community like a mayor has. So that's the huge difference. A governor is much higher, very minimal interaction with, I would say, direct, interaction
With the community.
with the community.
Yeah.
I mean, there's interaction, but not as, as a mayor.
Yeah, not as intimate.
Yeah.
Okay, so
The higher you go, the less
intimate you can be, yeah.
You just have to, yeah.
And so this is one of the really important questions that I'm certain, Helen, that everyone's probably curious about that's listening and watching. Why San Bernardino? Why run for mayor, Helen, for San Bernardino?
I never really thought about running for office.
Okay.
My entire life, to tell the truth, when I was growing up, I wanted to be a 3rd grade teacher.
Okay.
That was my passion.
You want to deal with little snotty nosed kids.
I wanted to make or break a child's life future.
Okay.
And I knew that I could positively inspire kids naturally because I love children.
I like that. It does start with the youth. It definitely
It does start with the youth, and they have to see someone who really gives them that boost, that confidence, and being willing to say, hey, you got this. You can do anything you want. And I look at myself, not speaking English growing up, being first generation born, not growing in wealth or what have you, didn't understand that, but met a lot of mentors, which is very critical.
Yes.
And I felt like that mentorship is key to our
100%.
youth.
Yeah. And someone that believes in you.
Right. So I would have to say when I'm reflecting, so I do a lot of reflection and things, and I realize my exposure in politics, understanding the importance of civic engagement early on in life, right? So working on countless of campaigns and whether it's candidate issue based, how important that was. And how important the awareness for voters to know that what they're voting on is extremely important, that will impact them and everyone in that community. Then me working in city of San Bernardino for 14 years and saw so many crisis after crisis after crisis, and not having the moment to heal.
Okay.
And the community's yearning for a leader who will lead in the community and heal from all of the trauma and the crisis that has transpired,
Yep.
especially in pandemic.
Yeah. Even worse.
Even
harder
worse.
Times. Yeah, harder times.
So more than and me understanding what it means to not have nothing and build yourself up. And I think a lot of our community members in the city of San Bernardino need someone that can help build them up and push resources out.
Gotcha.
And I think that's what really drove me. And now, having children of my own with my husband and watching them grow, they are very privileged because, we live in a beautiful home. We both have good jobs. So we're providing them, but we're always trying to engage with them in conversation that, hey, you are very fortunate. You are very lucky. There's more folk. There are children out there, and your classmates are those who need help. So when you see that, give a helping hand.
Maybe you should just drive them through Baseline and just.
Oh, absolutely, we do.
Like, hey,
we do.
See the difference?
Yes, we do. We do. Every so often we want them to see, the hurt and the pain that's existing in the community.
Yeah.
That you're not just sheltering them. And I think that's one of the things that what pushed me to do is to make sure that all of our children in this community are living in a safe and healthy and thriving city. And that you need a leader who understands the complexity of city government like San Bernardino, which my experience in 14 years knowing the ins and out of that, I can go in and be like, all right, let's go.
Mm-hmm. I know what it is.
I already build relationships with people. I already know, having the backing of over 200 leaders because I knew the need of how to build a coalition and that we all need each other.
Yeah, 100%.
To work together to solve the problems quickly. To
get it done.
That's it. I'm all about hey, how do we solve that? And let's figure it out and get it done. It may not be perfect, but we have to start somewhere.
If you don't move, then you never move.
Exactly.
Yeah. That might sound weird to people, but that makes sense.
So that's what really pushed me. And I had to really talk to my husband, my family, and I have to tell you, both my parents and my husband were very skeptical. Mm-hmm. And they said, my husband said, you know what, this is what you want. I'll support you, but I'll be behind the scenes. But I got to say that the journey has been so eye-opening.
Yeah.
And the challenges that comes with running for office. He's now along next to me every step of the way, always trying to be by my side because he knows how difficult it is, especially for a woman running for office.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Go Kong. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, Kong. Shout out to you.
And my parents, being a first generation born daughter and they not understanding why you want to run for office. You have a good job that's stable and good pay and benefits.
Yeah.
And what are you doing?
Why do you want trouble in your life?
And it was just recently that they're like, oh my goodness. So when they come to my events, they're realizing all these people are supporting you, Helen. That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. They're all coming together to help this community. And I said, Mom and Dad, yes.
That's the point.
You've taught me this. And even in your family line, when I started learning more about my families in Vietnam, they live, my grandparents are community leaders in their own community in Vietnam.
Cool.
And then I feel like this is in our blood to serve.
Got you.
And
ancestors are guiding you.
Yes. So that's where I feel like I'm following my intuition, following my guts of what I need to do, and navigating the case along with that. But it's okay.
Yeah.
Because if my parents survived and risked their life to come here, then I can get through anything.
Yeah. They led by example.
Yes.
And there's something that I wrote in my book that I wrote, and it's basically like, through all things, you have to root for yourself because some people may not be able to see the vision that you see. For example, when you're talking about your parents, they couldn't see the vision that you already were envisioning until it was brought to fruition. And then they're like, oh, Helen, now we get it. Now we get it. But imagine if you just listened to people who were like, no, you shouldn't do it. No. But I'm glad you followed and are following your vision because now people, family, non-believers or doubters can now see the thing that you were already dreaming for.
And it's interesting because, and I'm so glad you said that because I had to put a lot of effort and work to prove to people that I am doing this not for myself. I am the most selfless person you'll ever meet. I am a caretaker. I'm someone who want to make sure that everyone's good, everyone's fine, and family friends knows this of me. And I, if something goes wrong, I would always follow up, check in on you, like, just like my staff at work say, are you guys okay? Are you guys breathing, eating? Do you guys need coffee? Do you need lunch? What do you need? Like, I want to make sure they're okay because we are all doing so much. We have to check in on each other.
It's necessary.
And
That's
to
in
do the
daily life,
work,
yeah,
right?
in
And
daily
everything.
life,
Me, my family, my husband, my kids. I always make sure that everyone's fine. And so, I sometimes people are like, where are you getting all this energy, Helen? And my response would be, I have this crazy amount of energy. Yes, I do. It's good crazy.
Crazy.
But that's where I know that I could pour that energy into the work that's needed in San Bernardino as the next mayor.
Gotcha.
Because it's a lot of work.
Of course.
And I'm not doing this alone. That's why my ability to build coalition of support from all levels of government, within the community, faith-based, nonprofits, residents, businesses, we all have to come together as one.
Yes. Yep.
And irregardless of how you view of me, I will listen to you. I will hear you because I want to understand what you think of me, and maybe you have something that you have concerns about. Let's talk about that. Let's really rumble with the vulnerabilities and the tough conversation that needs to be had, and get through it, and so we can go to the next, so we can create progress. And I think that's why I know from the bottom of my heart that I can be effective.
And
I won't stop until we get it done.
I like that. I like it. And they say there's one thing you can't stop, and that's a persistent woman, so beware, she's coming, y'all. So Helen, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this before. When people hear the name San Bernardino, they're like, oh, you live in San Bernardino? Ooh, San Bernardino? Like I talked about this in one of my other podcasts where like San Bernardino has this reputation of just having a terrible name, terrible reputation. So is there hope for San Bernardino?
Absolutely. 1,000%, even though there's not 1,000%, 100%. We're going there because San Bernardino is a sleeping giant. There's so much that San Bernardino needs to show off to the world, there's so many gems, and it's just awful that the perception of the public views San Bernardino as that cringe feeling, like, ooh, you're from San Bernardino.
Yeah. Ooh.
And really, but there's a lot of people who are from San Bernardino who's understand San Bernardino, like, man, there's big heart for San Bernardino. We love San Bernardino. We're down for San Bernardino, right? But we have to do a better job creating a more positive light for San Bernardino.
Yes.
And we don't do that well. And I think that's the problem. We keep on highlighting the negative light of San Bernardino.
Yep.
And we don't do a good job highlighting the beauty of San Bernardino. But we also, as leaders, have to do a better job working to highlight the positive and fight for that.
I agree.
Because we constantly have this, we quickly go into the negative, right? It captures the media attention. Okay, great. But if we as leaders don't do the work to show and shed the light of the positive things of San Bernardino and the potential and wake up the sleeping giant, we're always going to be in the shadows. And that is why I know the work that me and everyone who's behind me, we are trying to bring in the light, and we're going to shine this place so darn bright that it's going to be like, oh my goodness, the shining star of the East. I say that because the West is what, LA and all that. And I'm like, San Bernardino is going to be the shining star of the East because I can see it, I can feel it, and everyone knows it.
Yeah.
We got to do better, and I know we can do better. But that's where I know, man, I'm ready. I'm ready to roll up my sleeves and get to work.
I like it.
There's a lot of work.
I like it. Let the sun shine. We're back there again.
Let the sun shine.
Hey, we're back there. And I like that. Helen. And that's the problem, like you said, always focusing on the negativity. And I think that's the issue, right? Is that we have a choice. Like, do you want to focus on the negativity, or do you want to focus on the positivity? And so if we focus more on the positivity, then we could actually see the good things in San Bernardino, right? Like how McDonald's started here, or about how the CSUSB does stuff, and then, or how the San Manuel Casino has been donating things. Like, we can focus on the positive things, but we're going to be like, oh yeah, the roads are dirty, this, blah, blah, blah. So as human beings, we have the choice and the free will to pick what we want to focus on. So I do agree with you that we should focus more on the positivity and the possibility of more positivity coming into the city.
I love what you just said, choice. Everyone has the choice to choose a leader who can help uplift the community like San Bernardino. So this is where voting is so critical in this election, because there's a huge voter apathy in this community.
Gotcha.
Because they lost hope, they lost faith, just because so much trauma, so much crisis, so much, again, that translates into lost hope.
Yeah.
It's like, it's San Bernardino. Oh, okay. What's going to happen? I mean, we see, it's getting worse. It's not getting any better. So what's my vote going to do?
Yeah.
And literally, your vote can do a lot.
Yeah. Can you tell the audience when the vote?
The upcoming election is Johnny. We're in May, June 7th, and ballots have gone out to all of the voters, 103,000 ballots, okay? And so folks who haven't registered, they can still register until May 23rd to vote in this election, May 23rd. And 103,000 ballots to all voters. And I could tell you the last cycle, about 37,000 turnout. Prior to that, about 15,000, 18,000 on average. And we're tracking the ballots coming in daily, and 2% came in. That's about 1,800 ballots came in. Okay. So early votes really matters right now at this point. So please vote, because your voice does matter. It does make or break every election in this city, especially in San Bernardino. And what I'm doing is I'm getting out every day with the team, really just encouraging and bringing that hope. Say, you have to vote. Your vote does matter, and it's going to change this city dramatically. Yeah,
because it's community-based, right?
Yes.
Right? Community-run and voting?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Which I just learned today. What is it called again?
Canvas?
No, when the people have the power over instead of the mayor having the power?
The people have the power for?
Like making change, as opposed to the mayor having all the...
Oh, it's a charter city.
This
is a charter city. And absolutely, because a charter is decided by the people, by the voters.
Yes.
And that was decided, that last charter reform was 2016, voted by the people, by the voters. And so we have the power to vote your next leader who is going to represent the community effectively, and that's me. Because I know that I will not let you down, and I am willing to listen to any concerns or issues you may have of me, so that we can address it and move on to the next. Because I'm not here to try to drag things on or not address it, because that's not what I do.
Yeah.
My background in HR risk management is like, all right, let's solve the issue next. What's going on?
Yeah.
And work with people. I understand how to work with people.
Which is very important.
Very important. And not to I never hold things personally. To me, I look at it, I listen, and I'm like, okay, if you have something to say, critically, please share it with me, because I can be a better, effective leader if I know where you're coming from and you have concerns.
And what the issues are.
Yes, absolutely.
So as running for mayor, what's the process been like?
Ooh, the process. I started this journey as soon as I left the city in 2019. I started reaching out to a lot of folks about my journey to run to be the next mayor, and that I didn't announce until January 2021. So you can imagine my work was to reach out, to understand, and really, who do I need to talk to, since I'm no longer going against my own administration, right?
Yes.
So I could freely understand spaces and where the city has gone. So I announced my candidacy, because I opened the committee January 2021, because I knew the amount of work that's needed. And that is fundraising. And I don't care what people say, oh, it doesn't take money. And let me tell you, it takes money, because it translates to voter outreach.
Yeah.
Because the city is so big. you cannot reach out to voters just on social media alone. Social media makes up like a little 10% or less than that.
Wow, that's
Yes,
surprising.
it is.
So the grassroots actually does more?
More,
Wow.
a lot more.
Wow.
You have to reach out to voters directly via canvassing, which is people to people, phone banking, calling voters. There's data identifying who the high propensity voters are. You have a small window to reach out to voters. So I started my journey in January 2021 to reach out to supporters, endorsers, to create that credibility of, oh, wow, this person knows what she's doing or he's doing.
Gotcha.
Raising money, because you have to understand that translate to voter outreach. It's not money for your pocket, not my pocket. I would never touch. I can't touch that money.
Yeah.
That money translate to reaching out to voters to help elect me because I know that I could be an effective mayor.
Yes.
Right? So that all translate into voter outreach. And I have to say, it is costly.
I can imagine. And you said the three were canvasser, phone, and what was the third one?
Phone banking, direct voter outreach, such as digital ads,
Okay.
mass text,
Oh,
mass
wow.
emails, mailers that can touch voters via mail, because you can't, it's impossible. Humanly impossible to reach out to these voters by just social media or just knocking on doors. There's a whole multifaceted ways of reaching out to voters.
Wow.
And that takes money.
Yes, it does.
And that's how you have to really share that to folks. Say, hey, will you support me? If you can support me, can you donate towards this contribution to voter outreach? Right? So, yeah.
Oh, wow. So it's been so the biggest process was basically getting people to believe in you and your campaign.
Yes,
to support,
get to know who I am,
to get out.
my background, that I have experience, the knowledge, both personal and professional, to really be an effective mayor for San Bernardino, a minimal learning curve, and getting to work with those who have been supporting me along the ways, right?
Yeah.
So that's, boom, relationship. That's huge, relationship. But I got to tell you, my journey has been, have you heard of House of Cards on Netflix?
The TV show.
The TV show.
Yes.
So it's a politics TV show where it talks about someone, running for office and also being in office. And I feel like I'm one of those episodes because
Okay. One of the characters in the show?
one of the characters
Okay.
as a candidate,
Uh-oh.
running for office,
Helen
right?
Tran.
Helen Tran running for
Uh-oh.
office.
House of Cards.
And then, you have folks who try to put fear and intimidation
Okay.
to prevent you from continuing to run for office or become elected. And
So are we saying fictional stuff happening to you in real life?
yes.
Okay. We're listening. We're listening.
So I have to say, there's you start having folks showing up to your house, which, mind you, we lived here for, since 2014, and fast forward 2022, strangers showing up to your house. We live in a very safe neighborhood,
Yeah.
and we know our neighbors. We had a gentleman who showed up to our house recording our home and recording our neighborhood, saying, "Where's Helen Tran? She don't live here." And I'm thinking,
Okay.
my neighbor, I'm at work.
Yeah.
My husband's at work. My kids are at school. And my neighbors are coming out like, "Who are you? That's our neighbor. You don't belong here. You need to go."
Yeah.
That was day one.
Weirdo.
The next day, I had someone with no shirt. We have a video recording, mind you, because we have a Ring, thank goodness.
Yeah. Thank goodness.
Recording all of this. And he pulled out a big bag of white something. And we're watching this. We're talking, oh my God, is he planting some? Is that drug or something?
Oh, wow.
And so...
Okay. What did he do with the bag?
Well, he put it in a planter right in front of our door.
Okay.
A planter pot.
Okay.
So we called the police, and they showed up, and they confirmed it was a bag of methamphetamine.
Wow.
And so a bag of drugs.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness. I'm just like floored. I'm thinking, is this really happening?
Yeah, is this real?
And I turned to my husband, like, we still talk about it to this day. We're like, did that really happen?
Yeah.
It did happen. They poked holes on it. Well, I mean, what if your kids or pet get to it? I mean,
Yeah.
it's awful. I even asked them, can you test that to confirm that was
You have
really...
to. You have to.
And they did, and they did confirm.
Wow.
I'm just like, and then, I had some folks who, when I shared this story, they're like, wow, they donated a lot of money, huh? That could have paid for your sign. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'm thinking, wow. I'm just thinking, that's crazy.
Interesting.
But, I just thought, so putting fear, intimidation, trying to paint you who you're not. And also that, I had folks who create videos when there was a month of, Black History Month.
Yeah.
So it's highlighting Black owned businesses and, trying to highlight those things for Black History Month.
Yeah.
And then I had my amazing, strongest supporter, late Dr. Margaret Hill.
Okay.
She's an iconic legend of our community. And she passed. And, suddenly, and I remember visiting her at the hospital, and we talked, and she said, Helen, I cannot wait to get out of here. You and I have a lot of work to do. Let's get to work. And I took a photo of her and I, because let's capture this during that, no matter what, we're going to continue to do the work and a good fight together, right?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, a few days later, she passed. And so that was really hard on a lot of us, especially the community, who she has touched many lives, many young lives. And when I go into how people can paint you as who you're not, they took that photo, which is in my personal page, and then captured it and did this whole mixture saying that I'm exploiting the Black community.
Okay.
Into
You're
the deathbed.
exploiting me then. I feel so offended.
And then I'm like, how? And I remember that night when my team, because I'm like on nonstop getting out the community, and my team said, Helen, there's a video out there about you. I'm like, what are you talking about? And then when I watched it, I just curled over on my bed, and my husband was like, what's wrong? And I just cried, because I was thinking, how could they do that to someone who is respectable, no longer with us, but disrespect?
Obviously, terrible story, but you realize how low people can go, even though you think you personally would probably never think and imagine of going that low to someone. But I guess there's a thing that people say: there's all's fair in love and war.
Right.
Have you heard that term? But I think there's some people who grow up with ethics, and there's certain rules that you can govern by, and there's certain rules that people don't govern by, and unfortunately, they had to do that. But I do believe in what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Certainly. And I think that it was part of the process, right? Because again, running for office ain't easy.
No.
And especially when you go into office too, you're putting yourself to the public fully. And so you're always going to face criticism.
Yeah.
But they don't know you until they choose to get to know you. And so I'm not going to win 100% of the public. I understand that.
Yeah.
But if I could win majority where I could get into office and start doing the work to prove and put the effort, put the, blood, sweat, and tears into the work, then they start seeing, wow, all right, she's not a bad person. Oh, wow, she's really doing the work. She is not just a talker. She is result-driven, result-oriented, and problem solver, right? Someone who is a nurturer, who's a caretaker, and that's going to be something I have to prove. So a lot of these things that has transpired during my journey of running for office, my goodness, I share it because I'm like, when you want to run for office, just be prepared. These things can come at you. Yeah. They get dirty politics. That's true.
Yeah.
I had a campaign hit that said there's a conflict of interest from the incumbent and that I'm stealing time from my work. Mind you, I have been very transparent with my journey to run for office with my boss and the organization. They're very, very supportive. And so there's this thing called leave banks, and you can use time on the books to, not be at work. So that again is just have been interesting because they try to, whatever sticks.
Whatever they can,
whatever they can get.
Throw anything at the mall, yeah. So this is kind of going to be like a hypothetical question, but it's like, would they still be doing all these things to destroy your image? And basically, it's kind of defamation of character if we want to bring it down.
Correct.
Would they be doing all these things to you if you weren't doing something right? If you weren't becoming a threat or, basically what I'm saying is that you must be doing something threatening or potentially putting people's eyebrow up that they must be doing these nefarious things towards you.
This is how I describe it. We are light workers. We are trying to bring light into a community that has been dark for so long.
Okay.
And so when we're trying to do the good work, right, then someone's feeling threatened by that, they're going to try to slow us down. Mm-hmm. To me, noise is a distraction.
Okay.
Yes, it's painful and it hurts,
Mm-hmm.
but they're noises and distraction. We have to stay focused on what we need to do, right?
Gotcha.
And so as we have 18 days left into election,
Wow. It's right around the corner.
it's around the corner. There's going to be a lot more noises probably, and I'm just trying to wait to see what the next shoe is going to, what's going to fall, what's going to happen. But I tell my team and I tell everyone, my family, we are doing an amazing work because everyone's coming out to help.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. Like today, we just had 12 Teamsters Local 1932 members come out and canvass, and everyone has responded with overwhelmingly support. And that has been consistent throughout. So that tells me that this community is ready. We have to continue the next 18 days to reach out, to encourage folks to vote.
Yeah. And keep moving forward.
Keep moving forward. Don't stop. Spread the word. Tell everyone, your family, friends, neighbors, colleagues, what have you, because the change is now and it's coming.
And it's needed.
It's needed.
Okay. I love that. So Helen, so this is probably a question that a lot of people are probably want to ask, and they're probably curious about, who don't really know you, who's maybe across the world. What makes you different from the rest of the people running for office?
What makes me different is that I mentioned it earlier, I'm the most selfless person you'll ever meet. I'm someone who loves to look at an issue and a problem that's challenging for most, but to me, I want to tackle it head on. I'm not afraid. And I think a lot of folks see me, if they don't know me, as someone who's meek, who's nice, who's just, but they don't realize I have a backbone.
Got you.
I
You grew up in San Bernardino.
I'm from San Bernardino, folks, the IE. We are not afraid
Yeah.
to take things on and blood, sweat, and tears and get things done,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's what one thing a lot of folks underestimate
Okay.
me. And so what really stand out is that I have the experience and knowledge firsthand of the city inside.
Yeah.
I understand that beast. It's a monstrous beast,
Got you.
but I can go in there and be like, all right, let's get to work.
You're not afraid to slay the dragon.
No, not afraid. Let's get to it.
I love it.
Let's figure things out. Let's get it done.
Slay this beast.
Yes, let's slay the beast. And then you
Okay.
make sure that it's working,
Okay.
that our city is working for our community. It is delivering the services that's needed. It's
Gotcha.
addressing the issues that exist and solving the problems.
That are here.
Not just talking, not just, the unwillingness to tackle the uncomfortable conversation about some issues, or, afraid that it'll, hurt a certain folks. It's like, you have to look big picture. I'm a micro kind of a visionary person. I look at big picture, but I'll go into the deep, the details as needed.
Yeah.
But it's like, I can see far away.
To execute.
Yes.
I like it. So Helen, as we talked about a little bit earlier, some politicians, or most politicians, from what we think as outside people, kind of have like a bad reputation of saying one thing and promising one thing, but never following through with those promises. How can you guarantee what you want to promise to the people that you will do?
My promise to the people is the fact that I will always give my 110% to everything that I do and everything I say. So when I listen to something or know that there is an issue that needs to be addressed, I'm going to make sure everyone's at the table. I'm going to make sure that everyone who's impacted is aware about what's coming.
Okay.
I want to make sure that we're not leaving anyone behind, and that there are things that has been divided for so long, as far as the community, certain parts of the city has been neglected for so long. It's no longer neglected.
Yeah.
And that there's hot spots in the city that need to be addressed. Let's get out there. Let's not be afraid.
Yeah.
Let's get out there with the right folks to make sure that we are all doing this together, so we are seen in the community.
Yeah.
That's what I'll promise you, that I will be out there. And I'm not going to stop until we get things done.
Okay. I like that. So you're saying after election, you become mayor, we'll see you on baseline.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Let's go.
Is that a promise?
Oh, absolutely.
Can Pinky promise
Yes.
it? All right.
Baseline.
All right. You can see her on
Baseline,
baseline.
Highland. I mean, there's a lot of hot spots in the city that during this campaign journey that I want to continue after the campaign. My energy won't stop. The amount of energy I'm pouring into this campaign will continue beyond election.
I love that. I love that. And for you guys don't know, Baseline and Highland, these are streets, downtown streets in the city of San Bernardino, right? So we talked about there having hope for San Bernardino, right? And to build it up to make it a better city. So are there other cities that you look at as role models that you would like San Bernardino to look like, or that has been built up over time?
For me, San Bernardino is very unique. We can model certain things to kind of make sure that we are not recreating or creating a new process, that we know there's already existing models, such as addressing homelessness or downtown or an airport or the streets, what have you. We need to create San Bernardino the way it needs to be created. San Bernardino.
Okay.
Not another city. When I see models, I look at like, okay, so let's work on, if we're going to address downtown, what is it that's not moving the downtown revitalization forward?
Got you.
Where is the hiccup? Is it, we need to get to the root of the issue.
Got you.
What's holding up the progress?
Like why the Carousel Mall is no longer like it
Right.
used to be.
There has so many missed opportunities with the city of San Bernardino. I feel like there's somewhere along the ways something got messed up and we never really followed through.
Yeah.
And that's where, for me, as someone with almost 2 decades of government experience and being in HR risk management, it's going to be extremely helpful because I can ask the right questions and inquiries and know where the missing links are at immediately with that experience. And then making sure that the council members, as my allies, not my adversaries,
Yes.
allies, okay? And then just make sure that they understand, because a lot of times what I'm finding more and more is that leaders go into leadership roles, and not have a really clear understanding of what they need to do or where, or unable to inquire and not feel like they are not being leaders, and they shouldn't feel that way.
Okay.
It's okay not to know.
It's healthy.
It's okay to, it's very healthy to kind of, let's talk through that. And I know I could be that mayor where I will, again, be an ally and say, all right, team member, a colleague, council member, let's figure out what we can do to make sure that your ward that you represent is thriving.
Gotcha.
And how do we incorporate all of that to make sure that everything is encompassed in the strategic goals of our city, that we are all thriving in unison.
Okay. So you wouldn't say there isn't a city that you can see that has been built up, or that you like their structure that you would want to follow?
There's a lot of cities. I would say a lot of cities around us have been thriving.
Okay.
Fontana, Redlands,
Got you.
Rancho Cucamonga. So I would definitely would love to see how they have been building up successfully. But I have to say that really the bottom line is leadership.
In the end of the day.
It comes down to leadership.
At the end of the day.
Because even for my city that I'm working for right now, it comes down to leadership.
It's true.
If you don't have the right leaders in their respective roles, you're never going to fully deliver the service or the development that's needed.
Yeah.
So to me, it's not more so about modeling. I think we need to model San Bernardino the way San Bernardino needs to be modeled, because San Bernardino is so beautifully unique. And we could develop San Bernardino to be San Bernardino, not San Bernardino that's similar to another city, right? It needs to be uniquely San Bernardino because we have airport, we have rail, we have the freeways, we have the largest downtown in the IE.
Yeah. Warehousing everywhere.
Well, yeah, but that needs to make sure that that's controlled too, and make sure that we are not just turning our city into a warehouse city. It needs to be a beautiful city that is going to be healthy, with that our residents can live, shop, and play.
Yeah.
And there's green spaces. There's healthy jobs for our residents, housing for our residents, more home ownership, and how do we make sure that we are affording our residents that opportunity to be homeowners?
Oh, I love that. And You know, I lost my train of thought. It was something about the warehousing, but it's okay. I'll let it go. Maybe it'll come back to me later. But how important do you think it is to have partnerships and relationships, good relationships with like, and I guess it's probably more so once mayor is the title, to have good relationship with neighboring cities like Redlands and Fontana and et cetera, et cetera. How important do you think that is with their
It is
mayors?
absolutely, critically important. And I cannot emphasize that enough. Because when I reached out to the neighboring cities and asked, what is San Bernardino doing wrong?
Ah,
The
that's a good question.
response, because I reached out, I'm like, hey, what's going on? What are we doing wrong? And most of the response has been, Helen, we just need a leader to work with. Leader to work with.
I remember what I was going to say now.
And so a lot of the issues that we're facing, that's the crisis, like the homelessness, is a regional issue. And you gotta have a relationship with all of the cities, neighboring cities, to help address it regionally. Work with the county regionally.
Yep.
Work with the state regionally. Work with the federal regionally. Everything is regionally. So that what happens here in the city impacts our neighbors.
Easily.
Yeah. We fail, they fail.
Yeah.
We're in the county pocket.
Yeah.
Largest county in the nation, landmass-wise, yes.
Facts.
And we are in the county pocket where we have 22,000 employees pouring in daily.
Wow.
Yet they leave.
Why?
Because there's nothing here to
yeah.
live, work, and play.
Yeah.
I mean, you have work, but
I like the last
live
part.
and play.
I like the last part, yeah. Yeah, I like the last one.
Right.
Wow. And I wanted to say, because you said it's not San Bernardino's fault, it's the leadership's fault.
Yes.
And it reminded me, because I heard someone say the other day, they said, if a child acts up, I don't blame the child. I blame the parent. If in the military, if the lowest ranked person is not acting right, I don't blame them. I blame the sergeant. I blame the lieutenant. So everything usually reflects the leadership. So it's very interesting.
100%.
It's very interesting.
It's leadership. Because people look up to the leaders to model how they act, how they conduct themselves, how they deliver services. So if we don't lead effectively, that's where everything trickles down.
Easily.
And to me, you need a leader who leads wholeheartedly, who will not point fingers, who will not shame and blame. It's someone who's going to be willing to engage with the community, with other leaders, with the organization, within the organization. So that way we could address the issues quickly, efficiently, and immediately. And that's where it's where I know I can be effective as the next mayor to make all that happen and help San Bernardino become safe, healthy, and thriving. To me, those three components is that everything we do, everything we decide on as leaders or policymakers, is that it's going to create a healthy, safe, and thriving city of San Bernardino.
And that's so beautiful, Helen. I really love that, because it is the leadership that makes everything thriving. And even the neighboring cities said that they need a good leadership to make it thrive. And so, not only are you running for politics and office, but you said, you have a husband, you're a wife, you have children. So how important is family to you?
Oh, family is priority. And that was instilled in me and my siblings growing up in our household, and my parents instilled that family is extremely important, because no matter what happens, you fall back to your family, who will always help you heal through things when you least expect it.
Yeah.
When you're young, you think, oh, I don't need my parents. Of course, it's a phase in life, right?
Yes.
Then when you have children of your own, then you realize family's everything.
Yes.
I still have a group text with my whole sibling. Like, we're all, chit-chatting it up every day. And, and it's my mom is so proud to hear that we do that. And as a mother, that you as siblings are engaged and together, and you bring your kids together. And without that foundation, strong family, and to me, I would not be what I'm doing today. Even as a leader in the public sector, even as a leader that I'm going to be as the next mayor, having a strong family foundation is so important because you can kind of pretty much apply it in the community you serve as one family. Yeah. Right? Yes. So you care for one another. Siblings fight all the time. So if community members fight all the time, let's sort it out. Yeah. Let's figure things out. Let's rumble it. Come on. Let's, and I, to me, it's like we have to see our community as one family. Yeah. And that we need to do more to make sure that we are living in this community, San Bernardino, that's safe, healthy, and thriving. Yeah.
Where we can work, live, and play.
Yes. Where we can work, live, and play.
I love that. So I want to assume, as a wife and a mother, that you know how to get down in the kitchen a little bit.
Oh, I love cooking.
Okay, so can you tell us what your favorite dish is or your best dish that you can cook?
It depends what you're craving.
Oh, okay. What's your favorite dish that you like to cook, that you can cook?
I'm telling you, okay, so I cook, but I cook for my families and friends. I love to host.
Okay, you're a hoster.
I'm a hoster. I love to host.
Okay.
So every time when we have a gathering, I'm always preparing all the food, make sure everyone's good. And they're like, Helen, well, don't you want to just sit down? I was like, no, I want to make sure you're good. Mm-hmm. And so I make bomb pho.
What's that?
It's a broth noodle soup.
Okay.
Pho. In our Vietnamese, pho.
Okay.
In our Vietnamese culture, we eat pho, or there's lots of other dishes, but that's one that I really mastered. My mom was like, "Oh my goodness, you make really good pho."
Okay, is she jealous? Is she jealous?
Sometimes she's jealous.
Uh-oh.
Oh yes. And so I could do that. I can make some Italian dishes, clam pasta, or just a general.
Al dente?
Si. So I can make some Italian dishes, or I can make into like sushi rolls, or it just depends. Okay. What we're craving for, but I love to cook. But I'll look it up and I'll just cook it. And
I love it. What do the kids love? What is the kids' favorite dish?
Kids, they love clam pasta.
Okay, of course pasta. Of course the pasta. Yes. Of course the pasta.
Clam pasta, pho, noodles. They just love the rice noodles, pastas. They love Korean barbecue meat. With rice. So
okay, wow, Mama could cook. I like that. So y'all don't be fooled. Not only is she running, but she know how to take care of her house. Okay, don't be fooled. All right, she know how to cook. She know how to take care of the family. All right, don't forget that. So, you kind of addressed it earlier, but how difficult, or was it difficult to find support with the family and your friends when you were running?
I think in the beginning, my family-wise, my parents were very skeptical. They're like, Helen, again, why are you stepping down from a good-paying job that's stable, good money, benefits? And but my response to my parents is that you taught us to help others and serve. We're very blessed to be here, and when I see a city that is not moving forward the right way, and I just don't see myself being effective, that I can do a good work, then why should I turn a blind eye? And I could not. Yeah. And I think that's what really did it, right? So it's...
And were your friends supportive too, that you told your friends as well? Were they like, hey, we're on board?
They're like, wow. And the beginning, like, oh my goodness. But I think they're even more shocked the fact of the progress, because they keep saying, like, I remember when you spoke about this, and now you're making this happen. Like, it's just been an amazing journey. And honestly, even when I look back, I was like, how the heck did I do that?
You're right. Like, I'm here. Like, wow.
I'm here. I have over 200 support and endorsements of community leaders and, residents, businesses in this community. But that's because I won't stop.
I got you.
When I have a mission to try to create a safe and healthy, thriving city, to be that effective mayor, to do that, I won't stop until it gets there. that the city is going to be safe and healthy and thriving.
Gotcha. I hear you. Folks, when a woman is determined to do something, watch out. Thank goodness she's doing something positive. That's what I'm saying, because it can go the opposite way if a woman's determined. But Helen Tran has got an amazing drive for this. And thank you, Helen, for that. I love that. And, you always want to please people. You always want to host. You always want to take care of everybody. You always want to move. I know it can just be kind of like a wind-up doll. So what do you do, Helen, to wind down and relax? What does Helen do?
I escaped to my garden.
Okay.
When we bought this home, it was just a big pile of dirt, rock, very hard ground. And again, when my dad taught me to see beyond the challenge, the ugly, we transformed our backyard into this really beautiful escape of trees. We have olive trees. We have a canary palm tree. We have Italian cypress, roses, fruit trees, herbs. All of that is so healing. That's why I'm huge about parks and green spaces, that we have to nurture those spaces because it's very healing.
Yeah, it's therapeutic.
Very therapeutic. So I find myself weed whacking.
Okay.
I literally am weed whacking.
You're not doing the easy work out
I'm not doing that. I'm doing it myself.
Okay.
But I love it because it really allows me to escape. And then I see the butterflies. I see the birds. I see the doves. I see, nature.
Yeah.
Where it's very therapeutic. Or I go mountain biking with my husband.
Okay.
We go we're very adventurous.
Okay.
So go mountain biking. And I have to tell you, my husband was the one who introduced me to mountain biking.
Okay.
When we first started dating. And I'm the type where I'm like, I can do this. I can do this.
Competitive. You're going to say competitive.
I'm competitive. I'm pretty competitive.
I saw it coming.
But I rode down the hill in Loma Linda, and I was like, I got this. And mind you, I didn't know how to brake the way it should be braking. So I flew off my bike.
Oh, wow. Head first over the handlebars?
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
And oh my God, I ate it bad. And then I think I fractured my nose because I see this little, I'm like, but when I fell into a twig just poked me here and I was bleeding and my husband's like, oh my goodness. So I was walking down the hill and he was walking out and had to push the two bikes and I had a towel or a shirt or something. I can't remember. He gave me something. I was covering my nose, my face because it was bleeding. And so that to me is I'm so determined to do something when I think, oh yeah, I can do this. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Even if it pains
you,
but you learn from it.
Yes.
And so I'm a really good mountain biker now.
Okay.
So we can go down switchbacks and up the hill and all that. So
What's a switchback?
So you kind of switch back and forth when you're going downhill, and you have to make sure you coordinate it well enough, or else you're going to fall forward or all over the place. So you have to be careful. The turns and yes.
Is there levels to mountain biking?
Depending where you go.
Okay.
Yes. So that was at Herky Creek.
Okay.
So that was you had to spend all day there.
All day.
Because then it could be bears, so we put bells on the bike and you had to make sure that you're.
There could be bears?
There's bears there.
Wow.
So that, or we go snowboarding.
Okay.
My husband, I like to just really stay active because we know health is important.
Yeah.
I also like to meditate at times, just really spend some time just really stay calm and collective and really just take everything in after a long day.
Yeah.
Then I just love being with the kids.
Okay.
So I'm always chasing them around and just make sure that, as a mom, that they are being kids. And so just love having family time. So my husband and I would just hang out with the kids, take them out, go to the beach or just go to the park or just go have something to eat together. And so the family time is very, very important too. So really balancing all that. I mean, I do a lot, so you can tell.
Which is part of the winding down and part of the relaxing and getting away. And I definitely know meditating is more people should do it because it's just everyone needs time to themselves and just to breathe and to just escape from reality, I guess you can say.
You do, because our society has conditioned us in such a way where it can be highly stressful, highly, it's a lot.
Yeah.
We mentioned earlier about Europe and the life, right? They take time to drink coffee. They have siestas. They have moments where let's just embrace life. and live life.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And balancing that with work. And so I always, I remember in San Bernardino when I worked there, I would do so much. I would work late nights, working weekends, just because I was the only staffer there when the height of bankruptcy, everyone fled, retired, resigned, and I had to build the department from ground up. But then now that I understood the balance, I would tell my staffers, like, all right, this can wait. You need to go home now. The day's over. Don't take this home to your family. Disconnect, go home.
Got you. I like that.
We'll come back. Disconnect. And so understanding that balance is where I know, going in as mayor, I understand there's a lot. I know that. I recognize that.
Yeah.
But helping people to understand the balance. We're going to do the work, but we can't forget ourselves. We can't kill ourselves.
Yeah.
We got to really embrace ourselves as we're doing this work. Let's have fun.
Of course.
Let's have fun.
Of course. Work, live, play.
Yes. Work, live, pay.
Yeah. And you can't be an effective mayor, effective person in general, if you don't find a balance so that way you can relax, wind down, and come back stronger to your role. Right?
Right.
And so I kind of wanted to go down into, San Bernardino is a mostly Hispanic, light-skinned Latino community. There's also some African-American community that's really big here as well. So how do you help and represent for these communities?
So for me, to represent community, I don't look at the race. I don't look at the skin. I don't look like what you look like. It's representing everyone.
Gotcha.
And that's where I don't look at that. I look at where is the greatest needs of the community.
Got you.
And if there is a inequity somewhere that needs to be addressed, I'm gonna address that right away.
Like the homelessness.
Absolutely. Or if there's a part of the city that has been neglected and not given the opportunity to be developed the way the area of that community wants to see it, then we got to give it some attention. Mm-hmm. And I hear a lot from the 6th Ward on the west side. They don't even have a bank there. They don't even have, a lot of access to healthy groceries. So those are things that we have to address, is the inequities of things, right? I know it's going to be it's a huge undertaking because, people look at, hey, where is the market value, or where is it going to be successful when you build access to those types of developments? Well, then let's talk about that. How do we, don't say that we can't bring this business in because doesn't have the tax base or what have you. How do you build a tax base to get there? Mm-hmm. Get to the bottom of it. Don't just, make an excuse and say, oh, well, we can't because it's not going to be successful. Well, how do we make it successful? How do we get to the bottom of it? Mm-hmm. So that way that area of the city is thriving.
Gotcha.
And so that way the people don't feel like it is their community that's being neglected. And if that's the case, we're going to address it right away. We're not going to just sit around and just say, well, we don't care. Because we're just going to focus on the areas that has a better opportunities to be successful. That's not right.
Yeah. Or fair, right?
Or fair.
Ooh.
And that's where HR comes into play.
Yeah. Knowing how to spread yourself in the right places and the right locations.
Absolutely.
So you've lived in San Bernardino in your past life. You currently live in San Bernardino now.
Yes.
How important do you think it is for a mayor or any government official to live near or in the city that they're running for?
It's absolutely important. If you are representing the community, you have to live in the community so you can live and breathe and know what the issues are.
Yeah.
If you don't, then why are you in the role of representing a community? Which means you are not here for the right reason. You're not in the leadership role for the right reason. Maybe you should take a reflection of what you need to do with your life and better serve yourself and others that could be self-serving to yourself. I mean, that is not only not right, it is hurting the community.
Mm-hmm. It's the bottom line. Yeah.
Bottom line is if you're not going to live in the community that you serve, then you're not doing it. You don't deserve it.
Mm. So, quick little side note: what's your favorite place to eat at in San Bernardino?
Oh, there's a lot.
Give us your top 3, if you got 3. Uh-oh, I put her on the spot, guys.
I
Uh-oh.
know you did.
She wasn't ready for it. She wasn't ready for any of these questions.
El Tepeyac, I love the chicken salad.
Okay, El Tepeyac,
Bomb. With a tortilla.
Uh-oh.
Mm.
Crunch.
Yes. The flour tortilla.
Oh,
The
whoops.
salad.
Okay.
There's no crunch there, but
Yes.
it's bomb. The Mexico Cafe is always good. They've been there for a long time.
Yes.
Meatlet Cafe is good. There's a
Okay.
lot of good places.
Yeah, that was
I have to
three.
say,
Yeah.
like, there's. Oh, did I say three?
Yeah,
already?
you
I
see,
did.
right, yeah, I think you did.
But it's a big size. There's so many good. Oh, Miyagi's bomb.
Okay.
That one's off
Is that
baseline.
sushi?
Ooh, yes.
Okay, and you're talking about, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Their fish is very fresh, so it's really good. So
Okay.
I mean, there's a lot of great spots.
Nice
to
top
eat,
three. Nice top three.
but we gotta do more to keep pushing that.
Definitely. I totally agree. And so, you know, you're running for mayor, obviously, and we talked about team building and you need teams to move and stuff like that. So do you kind of already have an idea what type of team you would want around you once in office?
Yes. So a team that should be around me is someone who's not afraid of hard work, not afraid to solve difficult problems, and roll up your sleeve and get out there. Not just sitting behind a desk or in an office.
Yeah.
We have to get out there, and I think that's where we're missing is an engaged team of folks to get out there and serve the public effectively and understanding where the hot spots are. When I say hot spots, I'm saying is there some high crimes or high homelessness or high issue areas that need to be addressed that we all as a team need to get out there. Mm-hmm. And so I want to ensure that the team of the city of San Bernardino has folks who is going to do the work and not just talk or not just sit at the desk.
I like that.
So working for the people. And that's what we do because we're on the taxpayers are paying us, mind you, every penny. And so we're on the backs of the tax, like that we have to serve. That's our purpose.
Yeah, it's their
That's
duty.
our role.
Yeah, yep.
As public servants. You're
Yep.
serving the community. So we have to give them the best services possible. And that's where my human resources organizational skills comes in, and recognizing good leadership, recognizing where it needs to work, or where we need to improve, and what tools and resources can we bring in to make sure that we are helping those employees or leadership to improve themselves to better effectively serve this community.
To be better public servants.
Yes.
I love it. I love it. And so, Helen, for you, what are the most important policies for you?
The most important policies for me, really, again, all policies that we decide or approve should, the three components I keep saying, is it going to make our city safe, healthy, and thriving?
Okay.
And I think those are things, especially that impacts this region, right? And the major focus has to be on the areas of the crisis that exist today, which is the homelessness. You know, we've seen a 6.6% rise on homelessness alone in our city.
Wow.
So
Within like the past year or?
since the last numbers of 2019.
Okay. Wow.
So that's over 1,000. That's almost 2,000 unsheltered folks
Okay.
in a community that we need to address. And right now, there's no policies to address it. That's huge. So we have to get on that right away and have a homelessness task force. The public safety crimes area, where I know we have a new police chief coming in, so I'm very, very excited about that. The community is excited about that to make sure that and it's actually also a first Black police chief. Yes,
Okay.
yes. He's coming from the state of Upland.
Okay.
Very exciting. And to be able to work with the police chief, to understand how we can address the high crimes and the hot spots of that area, and in the same time work with the violence intervention program that we have put in place. When we were in bankruptcy, we modeled it after City of Oakland. And that's addressing the high crimes gang area because we have a lot of high numbers of gangs coming into this region.
Yes.
And so we need to address that. So how do we work with that program with our police department to make sure that we're working together to address that and to control that violence, right?
I'm glad you mentioned. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh no.
I'm glad you mentioned the crime because I know San Bernardino is like pretty high in the nation as far as like crime
Ooh.
rates and stuff like that.
Yes.
And it's kind of a reflection of the economy. Like how you were saying earlier about people don't have like 22,000, I think you were saying, come in, but they leave because there's no work. And so it's kind of all like a reflection. And so this is actually the first time I've heard about this crime prevention, you were saying it was called?
Violence Intervention as a VIP program.
Wow.
I should invite you to. They do meet. Actually, they're meeting next week. So maybe you should come and check it out.
Yeah.
I'll give you the information on that.
Yeah, maybe I can
Because
get
to
on
me,
the podcast.
we need to get to, yes, that would be great. Because I think people need to know more about programs that are trying to address the violence. And for them, they are addressing the gangs and high violence in that area. So then people are not shooting each other, or youth is not going into the path of potentially getting killed themselves or killing others. How do we face that?
Yeah, even you yourself were saying that you would probably end up in a gang.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Which folks, there's other options.
There is other option, and we as leaders have to get out in the community with other leaders who want to help our youth, so not to go down that path that's going to get them into the system. That's we have to do better. We can.
Yeah.
So yes.
And it's definitely easier said than done, but where there's a will, there's a way.
Exactly. And again, I'm very determined. I'm not going to stop until we figure it out a way.
I love it. We should call you Miss Way. So can I mention a policy that's always been on my mind?
Yes.
So maybe you can, maybe once in office, you can throw it out there, right? So I've always had this thing, because you talked about health, right? Health. I always had this thing, because there's always big plots of land in San Bernardino. You always see big empty plots of land. And one thing that I wanted to do for the longest time, and this is on record now, is I wanted to open up a greenhouse.
Oh.
Made by the community and for the community and EBT friendly. And someone who likes to dig in the garden would understand how important that is for the children and to get healthy, fresh fruits and vegetables.
Absolutely, especially when there's a real food desert.
Yeah.
Out here. And
we have the space.
I would love to explore that. And being able to have that conversation and meet with you and others and say, okay, what is existing now that could help transform and meet the this vision that you have, especially actually the community's vision, right? To make sure that we are having access to healthy food.
Yeah.
And I know I could tell you there are so many. The more I've gotten out to the community, I've seen a lot of community spaces that are doing this. But that if we all connect and really work together to do it cohesively as one, imagine the work that we do as a community, not in silos.
Yeah.
And so that's where I'm seeing that I want to help connect a lot of members in the community who are doing the work already, and also inspired to do more work to expand that access to our community members, especially those who are in poverty, and we do have high poverty in this community.
Yeah.
For those access of fresh food and yes, I'm all about that.
I love it.
I can't wait, because those are things that we need to do more.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm assuming you like the idea.
Yes, I love the idea.
Yeah, and I also said I want it to be EBT friendly, so that way there's no excuse.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, we can't afford it. Do you have EBT? Yes. Okay.
And we're seeing a lot of that, stores and businesses that are EBT friendly.
Gotcha. Because is Trader Joe's EBT friendly?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they are, but no knock on Trader Joe's. I'm just using an example. But then again, maybe a knock. I don't know. Whatever. So, Helen, is becoming mayor, is that the end goal for you, or is there bigger goals? Like, is there like senator possible? Is governor possible? Like, is that the end goal?
To be honest, I can't see that until I see San Bernardino thriving.
Okay.
That I see San Bernardino is on the right track to be safe, healthy, and thriving, and that we are proud of the city, and the city is rock and rolling. We are the shining star of the east, and we've waken up the sleeping giants. All of that has to happen before I can even consider looking elsewhere. I need to spend the energy to make sure that this city is truly, truly thriving.
I love that.
I cannot leave this behind. I cannot leave the city community behind.
Finish one thing before going on to the next.
Yeah,
like
so I
that.
can't even think about anything else. And I tell people, because people have approached me, like, my goodness, Helen, the amount of energy you poured into with support and all of this campaigning has been more than, typically they don't see it in a race like this. They see it in more of a higher race and what have you. And I'm thinking, because I know San Bernardino needs a lot of help.
Mm-hmm.
I know San Bernardino needs everyone hands on deck to make sure that this city has the funding, the resources, the help that's needed to create that safe, healthy, and thriving city.
I love it.
So I'm not going to, until I see this place at that level, I will respond then.
Got you. Well, I guess we'll come back to you about that. We're going to come back to you. And I agree, because I've always saw San Bernardino as the midpoint between Vegas and LA. And I'm always just like, what can we, like, San Bernardino has the opportunity to get like better bars, better things, just to make people say, okay, we're gonna take a trip from LA to San Bernardino. I mean, from LA to Vegas, but let's stop in San Bernardino first before we go to Vegas, or vice versa. And I always see San Bernardino as being the midpoint between that. And so I agree with you. I can't wait to see San Bernardino get what it was, because I believe it used to be a pretty thriving city beforehand, with like the Route 66 thing with the cars and other stuff. So I would love to see it be the midpoint between LA and Vegas.
And it is the midpoint. We know that, because in all directions, you're going to all these other destinations that is like literally San Bernardino is the point, the middle point, midpoint. And so we have to know that people cross past San Bernardino every day to go to these major locations and destinations. And we have to recognize that. And can you imagine, once we are thriving, the pouring of outside folks coming in to visit, to spend their money and bring in revenue.
Yes, economy.
Yes. So that's where it's like, it's a sleeping giant. Truly.
Just waiting to get its belly
Just
rubbed.
waiting for the right leadership.
Just waiting. And you said something really important with the word, which is people are passing through.
Yeah.
They're not stopping. So we need to get people to stop and make San Bernardino worthy of stopping.
Yes.
Right? Which is possible.
Absolutely
You know?
possible.
So Helen, what are you currently working on? Whether it's politically, non-politically, what are you currently working on?
Well, I'm currently running for office.
Yes.
And so 100% of my energy has been pouring into, running an effective campaign to reach out to voters, to let them know that this is a critical election, to elect a leader who's going to finally make the community proud, because a leader like myself will work nonstop with blood, sweat, and tears, with determination and conviction, wholeheartedly, to make sure that this city is thriving. And so that's what I'm doing right now. That's the work that I'm doing. And it's a lot of work. And so that's why I am very focused on this. My family's behind me, my friends behind me, everyone recognizes, so they're all getting behind me. And it takes all of us to really move this city forward. And that's the work at this point.
I love it. And, I wanted to ask you something earlier when you're talking about, like, finding people to believe in the campaign and supporting it. So what was one of the hardest people or groups or organizations to get them to believe in you and supporting your campaign?
I think the strongest critics that I've seen that really doubted, or I'm sure they still doubt, is that I don't look like the community that I'm representing.
Okay.
Which we kind of tapped into or talked earlier. But for me, I'm not looking at that. I'm looking at that my ability, my experience, my values can be effective as the next mayor of San Bernardino. And I think that was probably the tough, because when I do meet with some folks, they say, well, the demographic says this. How do you expect to even win these folks to get behind you? But my response is, I'm not looking at that. This is where we can constantly divide the community.
Yeah.
Because we unconsciously divide the community by saying, well, this race, but why can't we be all as one? We are one community, and we all share the same values of wanting to live in a safe, healthy, thriving city. Do we not? I would say we do.
I would agree.
Because we all want to feel safe. We all want to feel like we are proud of the city. And so that's where I know my experience, both personally and professionally, can really lead the city effectively. So again, it's that I would say that was the toughest.
Okay. Getting them to believe and support.
For why my purpose, right? For why am I doing this?
Got you.
Not because of fame, not because of power, money, or
Got you.
it's because I care enough, and knowing that my parents risked their lives to come here for our lives to have a better life, and that understanding this community that is high. There's a high number of poverty,
Yes.
and we grew in poverty. It's a leader who can push resources out, help pave the pathway for success for these folks.
Ooh, I love it. And I can imagine, people would come with the doubts because they're like, well, you don't look like the majority of people here, how are you going to bring that? But, I learned that actions always speak louder.
Yes.
Because people will have their face value doubts, but then when you do your actions and you prove, you're like, well, yeah, she's a lot more than what we assumed, because it's so much easier to assume about what a person is or what they may do or not do. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I'm glad you overcame that hurdle and continued over that hurdle, right? Or hurdle. And so I like to ask people this question, right? What do you see after, you're old and gray, 80 years old, 90 years old, you've passed on, 100 years have passed on. What would you have liked your empire or legacy to have looked like on this planet?
I would like to see that I have inspired a lot more leaders after me, and inspiring youth to lead, inspiring other leaders to want to step into the role, such as I'm doing right now. Mm-hmm. And that it is not as bad as one may think, but then helping those to navigate those challenges that I'm facing, right? Yes. And not to let the fear, intimidation that folks or entities or groups try to put on you to not lead. What the legacy that I want to be able to leave behind is that, wow, she is a person who really truly helped. She is a person who really inspired people to step into leadership roles to lead, whether it's in office, whether it's in education, whether it's in families. Yeah. Is making sure that we all can lead, but we're all leaders already. It's just knowing that you can be effective for who you are and embracing that. And don't let the noise and distraction. I think that's what the biggest thing is, that we live in a society where there's a lot of noise and distractions. A lot. And I think we need to step back and realize that we all have talents. We all have abilities to give and purposes in our lives. And we all need each other. We all need each other. So I think that's the biggest thing that I'd like to be able to leave behind, is that she is one who was able to bring people together, inspire the youth, was family oriented, and yeah.
I love it. And I agree that we do need each other, because this one thing I always say, that you can't hug yourself, right? And you can't scratch your own back. You need someone for both of those things. So we do always need each other. So Helen, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast. And can you please let everyone know how they can find you, how they can reach you, how they can support you, how they can know more about you? The floor is yours.
Absolutely. So which direction should I?
You can use any camera you want. You can use this one or that one. That one's kind of nicer.
Okay. Well, I'm Helen Tran. I'm running for San Bernardino mayor in this upcoming primary election, June 7th. You can find me at my website, www.helentranformayor.com, or on my social media, Facebook and Instagram. The handle is @VoteHelenTran. My phone number's there, email's there. I am reachable. You can reach out to me and I can get back to you. I tell my team all the time is that, if there's someone really want to engage with me, if their questions are not answered, I will get back to you. I'll reach out to you. I'm someone who wants to lead alongside you to make sure that this city is going down the right direction, right path, to create a healthy, safe, and thriving city. So I hope to earn your support. We have 18 days from this day that we're doing this podcast. And so again, June 7th is election day. Let's transform San Bernardino together.
I like that. And thank you so much, Helen. Appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, you know where to find her. You could even Google her. You're going to find her. Helen Tran, San Bernardino. You'll find her, okay? If all that would confuse you, you can find her, all right? Reach out to her. She is very accessible, right? You know exactly who she is. You've heard everything here on the podcast. Other than that, my name is Antonio D. Miles. Thank you guys for listening, watching. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below. If you're listening online, give a good review. And if you want to support the podcast, you can go CashApp, TheeEmpirePodcast. And other than that, without you guys, we wouldn't be here. So thank you so much for your support. And until next time, we'll catch you on the next one. Peace. That's it. Say it's my duty. Yeah. Is it my will? Yeah. To do what? Yeah. To do is right. I said let the sunshine. We're back there again.
Let the sun shine.
Hey, we're back there.